What is up, and welcome to A Look Behind the Curtain with Chris Celeste, episode 9. The purpose of this YouTube channel and podcast series is to answer the two questions I get the most, which are, is digital marketing real, and are there people having success with it? Also, to kind of give you some resources and tools that you can take into your life or business and implement them. So every week, I reach out to someone in the community and have them come out and kind of just give you a look behind the curtain of, their experiences, some of the things that they've had to overcome, and ultimately how it is that they're having the success they have today. So today is kind of a special edition. If you've watched any of the previous episodes, you've definitely heard this gentleman's name mentioned before. He is an entrepreneur, a professional speaker, a mentor, a coach. He's been featured in publications such as Forbes. He is one of the co-founders of Awol Academy. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce my mentor and friend, Keala Kanae.
How you doing, brother?
Good. Welcome out. Thank you so much for taking some time out to give back. I know you always are willing to do that. So, sorry. The first kind of question I usually ask is, who are you? What got you started online? Basic backstory. So I'll let you take it away.
All right. Yeah. So, obviously my name is Keala Kanae, as you said. I am the co-founder and CEO of a company called Awol. And then we have several subsidiary companies under that umbrella. So we actually have a total of, I believe, 4 or 5 companies that we own at the moment, or that we either own or are in a partnership on. A little bit about my backstory. I was born and raised in Hawaii. Grew up with pretty a pretty modest living for the most part. I mean, my mom cleaned homes for a living. My dad had a great job, but he also loved to, roll the dice. So not all of that money made it home at times, but it is what it is. It's cool. So, I just came from pretty humble beginnings. A lot of times I've had, people say things online like, oh, well, how bad can Hawaii really be? I'm like, listen, every area's got its ghettos. Okay. And I definitely didn't come up in like the ritzy neighborhoods. I came up like living right down the street from public housing, right? I mean, houses across the street were getting robbed, domestic violence all the time. It was pretty much the ghetto. As ghetto as you can get in beautiful paradise, Hawaii. Anyway. Grew up with a pretty modest living. And, eventually I did everything that society tells us to do. I went to school. I got good grades. I studied hard. I graduated high school. I got into the University of Hawaii. And I don't know, man, I just kind of quickly started to realize like, I'm just not stoked on anything that I'm studying, right? Like at the time I was studying psychology at the university, kind of was thinking about going down the road of being a psychologist, but the idea of sitting in a room all day and listening to people's problems, I don't know, it didn't make me excited, but it was a career path. I had to pick a path, right? Like that's part of signing up for college. So I thought I picked something that I thought would be interesting. By the end of my first year, I knew that that's not what I really wanted to do, but I didn't know where else to go. Luckily, I had a friend at the time who had the idea to create a promotions business. So I was 18 years old and we started a nightclub promotions business. Basically at the time we threw a lot of hotel parties and get-togethers, and we would charge people to come to the party, right? Like we had like this rule, like you either bring, a case of beer per person, you bring 2 girls for every guy, or you pay to come in. That was kind of those were generally our rules, right? And we just made it up as we went along, and we probably didn't collect all the money we were supposed to. Who knows? Okay. But anyway, through these parties, and a buddy of mine, just kind of figured out, hey, did you know that we could get paid to throw parties? Like it's called nightclub promotions. And every time somebody pays to the entry fee to a nightclub, that's going to a promoter typically. So we had no idea. So 18 years old, I got online. I learned how to make some fake IDs. We printed up some fake IDs, and we started going to nightclubs and telling them that, we would promote their venue if they, and we got some contracts right out of the gate. We got contracts for crappy nights, like Monday night. Nobody goes out on a freaking Monday night. It was really hard to get that thing popping. But yeah, that was the beginning of my entrepreneurial journey. And I remember being 18 years old in college with friends who were studying at the College of Business on the University of Hawaii campus. So they're studying business. Here I am, 18 years old. I have a business, right? Like I went down, I filed some paperwork. I have a business license. This says I'm a business owner. While these other guys are paying thousands of dollars to learn how to become a business owner, I was out there actually doing it, right? The school of hard knocks. And then that's basically how I entered into the world of entrepreneurship. And once I got the bug, like once that flame was sparked, it was just impossible to put out. I never really made any money with the nightclub promotions. I never really made any money with anything that I did for the first 11, 12 years as a wannabe entrepreneur. I failed miserably from thing after thing after thing after thing after thing. And that tends to be part of the journey, I guess. Luckily I didn't give up. And then to fast forward to 2010, I was promoting a real estate investment education. So I was like in direct sales. Like if I sold a package, I made a commission. That's basically how it worked. And I had a guy who was trying to help me, who had somewhat become a mentor at the time. And he was doing really good. I mean, I seen him make as much as $60,000 in commissions over the course of a weekend, right? So he was trying to help me, but by that point, like I was pretty jaded with all the different things that I had tried out. And he was telling me, make a list of your friends and family members, get on a call with them, feel them out, get them interested. If they're interested, then get them on a phone call with me. And then we'll get them to, one of the hotel presentations, and then we'll sign them up for one of these larger packages and blah, that kind of thing. And at this point, I had tried so many things and failed. I was like the laughing stock of my family, right? I mean, a lot of us have been to one of those presentations where they tell you, like make a list of your friends and family. And if you get three, who get three, who get three, who get three, we're all going to be super ultra rich and retire young. We've all been to those presentations, right? And I had done a few of those type of things. And basically I just burnt out my family. Like they didn't really trust my ability to succeed. They didn't really see me as someone who was legitimately going to have success in life. And let's be honest, like for most of us, that's just not a fun thing to do. Like make a list of our friends and family and then try to pitch them on something, right? So I went online one day and I just Googled like how to create leads on the internet or something along those lines. And that just took me down the rabbit hole of internet marketing. And so that was like my first, taste test, if you will, I guess, in 2010. Start to learn a little bit about it. That took me down this rabbit hole of buying all of these courses and, trying to learn from all of these different gurus and that sort of thing. And then I really didn't have any success with that until late 2012, which at that point I had basically hit my rock bottom. I was working for minimum wage in a coffee shop at 29 years old. I was living in my mom's spare bedroom, damn near 30. But I couldn't afford the rent in Hawaii, right? The cost of living in Hawaii is pretty high. I mean, do the research. It's like one of the highest costs of living in the entire United States. And so minimum wage doesn't get you very far there, but that's where I was at. And it was August 13th, I want to say 2012, that I walked into my mom's bedroom and I was like, hey, Ma, I saw that you had that cardboard box full of old purses that you're going to take down to Goodwill. Any chance you'd be willing to let me take one of those out of there? And she said, sure, but why? And I was like, well, because, tomorrow is my girlfriend's birthday. And her and I had been together for 7 years at this time. It was like, tomorrow's my girlfriend's birthday, and I don't have any money to get her anything. So I was hoping I could at least give her one of those used purses before you take them down to Goodwill. So August 14th, 2012, I gave my girlfriend somebody else's trash for her birthday. And I think that for me, that was like one of those moments in time that like, that's the line in the sand moment. That's kind of the moment where I was like, drew this line in the sand and was like, listen, I'm never going to be here again. Right? Like, this is just not happening. How in the world did I end up in this position? So that's when I got serious. At that point, I joined a community, an online community. I got around the right mentorship and training. I had people that I could ask questions. I had some support. And within about 8 months of that, 7, 8 months of that, I had quit my job, was making 5 figures a month online. Went on to, do hundreds of thousands of dollars in revenue there before creating what is now Awol, along with my co-founder. And the rest is kind of history. So that's how I got involved in the industry. Hopefully that answers your question. And of course, I'll share more details if you want.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Yeah, it's a crazy backstory. 12 years, not giving up, and to be where you are today, it's absolutely inspiring, dude. So what made you and Cameron, the co-founder, start Awol?
That's a good question. Yeah. So Cam and I were hanging out. We were actually building out a sales funnel for another offer that we were going to promote. It was a company that did they were in e-commerce, and they sold, they offered, like, you basically joined a membership club and you could buy a bunch of stuff at like super discounts. It was really good, but they had no online presence. So anyway, I had flown out to Canada to hang out with Cameron. We were sitting in his home office one day, mapping out these funnels, and I was like, "Hey man, if your mom wanted to get started in our industry, like, what would you tell her?" And he kind of jokingly was like, "I would tell her to keep her freaking day job, man. Like, this shit's hard. Like, he and I, we learned a lot and we had success, but we're buying course after course from all of these different people. Things didn't quite mesh together, right? Like, if you wanted to learn how to advertise on Facebook, you went to the Facebook person. If you wanted to learn how to do webinars, you went to the webinar guru. If you wanted to learn Google ads, you went to the Google ad guru. But the things weren't taught in one cohesive fashion. So there was a lot of like piecemealing it all together and trying to figure it all out. And so it was a challenge, and cost us lots and lots of money. I think at that time, Cameron and I were sitting in that room, and he had figured out that he had spent well over $100,000 on his education. I was up into the tens of thousands of dollars at that point. He had been online a couple years earlier than I had, so he definitely had a head start. And we just kind of started breaking it down and just realized that there was an opportunity out there to, like, we just started asking the question, hey, what if we created it? What are that dream company that would have had everything all under one roof and taught us end-to-end online marketing? We never had it when we got started, but what if we created it? Like, what if we created that thing that we wish we had when we got started that would have made it easier for us? And that became the conversation. And then right there in that room, I pulled out the whiteboard. I think I still have pictures of it, actually. Not that long ago, he sent me a picture of our first brainstorming session on that whiteboard, where I created what are now the products that we sell inside of Awol Academy. And I mapped out, like, first people have to learn how to build funnels. Then they have to learn how to do email marketing. Once they're using that funnel to generate leads, they have to learn how to email that list effectively and convert those leads into customers. Then they have to understand all of the various conversion ways to convert people using, email, copywriting, doing videos, webinars, just different things to help you convert more of your leads into customers, how to generate massive amounts of traffic, how to basically manage all of your money. Like, that was the point that me and Cameron were at the time, is we had made money. Like, I had a flashback there, and I was like, dude, we definitely got to, if we're going to be the end-to-end thing, we got to teach people how to manage their money effectively. Because my first year making 6 figures online, I found myself at the end of the year with no money in the bank, right? Like, I had a bunch of great photos from all the trips I took, right? But I had no money in the bank and a tax bill that I had to pay. And I was like, holy smokes, I had hair right before that happened. And then now I don't have hair now, right? So I didn't actually have hair then, but that's besides the point. So I learned the hard way that, like, it's not just about how much money you make, it's how you manage what you make. And arguably that's even more important than how much you make. And so, that's, we created what is now Master's Academy, where we have experts talking about how to manage wealth, the mindset behind wealth, how to invest, how to build for the long term, how to hedge against economic downturns, that sort of thing. And that became our end-to-end program. And then we had, if people wanted to get the real like high-level mentorship and training, then we created what is now our elite program. So an annual membership. So yeah, it just came about from us realizing that, what if we just went out and created that one umbrella company that would have taught us all the skills that we needed all in one place. And it didn't exist at the time, so we went and created it.
Awesome. And as someone who has directly benefited from you creating that, I'd like to say thank you, because now I had one place to go to get from start to finish. And absolutely love it. So being that, you struggled for so long and now you have a very successful business online, which is actually an umbrella of businesses. What is some of the things that now being successful that I wouldn't say get to enjoy, but are some of your favorite things that you get to experience in life now because of the success you have today?
That is an interesting question, my friend. That is a 1 hour conversation in and of itself. I would say probably the thing that I get to experience that means the most to me, that has the most meaning to me, is experiences like this one here, like what we're having right now, right? That I have the opportunity to work with you started out as a customer, right? And you've gone on, you've created success, you've gone full time, your kids have their dad back now, you work from home, and seeing that sort of thing, that's like the most rewarding thing that I get. Right. And so I would say like this, seeing how our company and how our work impacts people has definitely been the most fulfilling thing, right? Like I've never gotten a paycheck that brought tears to my eyes, but I've definitely read success stories from our customer base that brought tears to my eyes, right? And just made me like super grateful. And I think that that's one of the most important things for people to understand, is that like we all have value to offer the world, even if we don't think that we do, right? Most of us don't believe that we do. At one time, I definitely had a hard time believing that, but I am convinced at this point, and nobody will convince me otherwise, but I believe that every single person on earth is innately great, and they have something remarkable to offer the world and some value to deliver. And as entrepreneurs, we get to impact, our businesses are meaningful because we impact customers in a meaningful way. I don't care if you're selling weight loss pills or a fitness program. I don't care if you're selling like a dating or relationship program, if you're selling a financial newsletter, whatever it is, right? If somebody is buying something from you, it is because they want it to enhance their life in some way or another. And we get to build things that enhance people's lives. And I think that that's supremely rewarding, and definitely like the thing that I cherish most about what I get to do today. And like being on this call with you is an example of that. I'm being honest and frank, like I'm super busy at this point. I mean, we've got a very successful company. We've got a family of companies. We are growing pretty rapidly. We've got a lot on our plate. And at the same time, I've got a client that, in Chris, that is successful and is out there pursuing his dreams and has the gall to come and ask me, hey man, would you be willing to jump on a call? And like, if I could contribute to your success, I'm happy to do so. Right. I mean, you're one of those that's showing that you're actually going out and putting in the work. You're not just like asking for handouts. Right. And so just a call like this, super meaningful. I'll share with you, a story a while back. And so last year we had gone out to a restaurant here in Las Vegas called Awol, I believe. It's a pretty nice fine dining restaurant. It was my girlfriend's birthday, right? So me and some friends, we took her out, And this place was unique because they have this huge glass wine cellar. So it's all glass all the way around, and it's 3 stories tall. And they have these waitresses that dress up like angels. So when you order a bottle, you can actually see the waitress, like, you know, they're tied in on some sort of like suspension or whatever, but they actually go flying up this thing and they'll grab your bottle from 3 stories up and bring it down. It's pretty unique, right? Everything's got a gimmick in Vegas. There's all sorts of gimmicky stuff. But it was my girlfriend's birthday. And we went out to this restaurant. We sat down, and you know, I said, hey, I'd love to get like a nice bottle of wine to celebrate. You know, you mind if I see your wine list? So they brought the wine list, and open up the wine list, and I'm scrolling through, and I see this bottle of Opus One. And Opus One had a pretty significant meaning to me because back before I was working in that coffee shop, which was my last job, before that, I was working in a restaurant, in a fine dining restaurant. And there was this group of guys that used to come in pretty regularly and obviously very successful. I mean, you could tell just the clothes they wore, you know what I mean? Like Gucci shoes, that kind of thing, right? Like you could tell, right? And they would always start out the night by ordering a bottle of Opus One, which is $1,000 bottle of wine. That's what they would start their night out with at dinner, right? And I remember serving them, you know, on a couple of occasions and thinking to myself, like, I wonder what they do that they could afford to have $1,000 bottle of wine. And I wonder what that tastes like, right? $1,000 bottle of wine. And so, you know, I see that on the menu that night. And I said, you know what? I'll take this. And, you know, waitress went and got it and everything. And I sat there when they brought it. I took a sip. You know, they poured everyone a glass, put it down on the table, and then I told my friends and my girlfriend that story. I told them about like this. You know, I ordered this because it was meaningful for me because, you know, today I can afford to have that experience that I used to watch other people have. I would facilitate this experience for them, and I used to wonder, what did they do, right? And it was also meaningful because it was my girlfriend's birthday. And I had remembered that, you know, just a few years prior to that, I was giving her a used purse that was going to go, you know, it was literally somebody else's trash. And that's all I could afford to give her. And here we are a few years later on her birthday, going out for a night on the town, starting the night out with $1,000 bottle of wine, right? And so it wasn't about the wine. It wasn't about the flavor. It was about the meaning behind it. It was the symbolism of having that wine sitting on the table, right? That I had achieved something, that we had come a long way. And, you know, I think, you know, Tony Robbins probably sums this up the very best that I've seen. He says, if you want to know the key to happiness, I can give it to you in one word: progress. People want progress. They want to be moving towards something. They want to see a progression. They want to see that, you know, things are happening in their life. People get bored, stagnant, unhappy, miserable when it's the same day in and day out. Nothing's really changing. And so for me, that meant progress. It symbolized a progression in my evolution as, you know, going from wannabe entrepreneur to actual, you know, successful business owner, entrepreneur, that sort of thing. And so I would say that, you know, that's one of those rewarding opportunities, right? Is the experiences that we get to have. I look at life as like, at the end of the day, our life is going to be an accumulation of experiences. That's how we're going to measure it, right? So why not have the best ones? Why not have the best experiences that you can possibly imagine? If it takes hard work and dedication to make that possible, why not, right? Because at the end of the day, when we're laying on our deathbed about to take our last breath, we are going to look back on our life and we're going to remember all of the experiences. And I want to know that I left nothing. I didn't leave anything out on that field, right? I went out and I played it the hardest that I could possibly play it, went all in, gave it my all, and, you know, there was nothing left. So.
Awesome. Yeah. I could definitely see that being rewarding, no doubt. And then to be able to have that, bottle of wine at your girlfriend's, that's awesome. Awesome to hear, dude. So would there be maybe one or two things that you would say that you developed, maybe skills, mindset, or skill set that helped you become as successful as you are today?
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely say that it's twofold, right? It's both, in my opinion. And I've talked with lots of entrepreneurs about this, and every single entrepreneur that I've ever spoken to about this agrees that, like, success is the marriage of skill set and mindset. At the end of the day, you've got to learn a skill that is highly valuable in the marketplace, period. There is no way around it, right? That is the law of commerce, right? So you are going to get paid exactly what you are worth in the marketplace. Exactly. It's a direct reflection of the amount of value that you're delivering. Now, granted, some companies might pay more for the same amount of work and some might pay less. I get it. But generally speaking, there's a window that there's a threshold, and somewhere in there you're going to land based on the amount of value that you bring to the marketplace, and the amount of value you bring is based on the skills that you have to offer, right? Period. However, there's also the mindset component, which is, believing that what you have to offer is worth something, right? Um, and one, like, just having a very valuable skill set with no mindset isn't going to get you anywhere, right? Like, I grew up, I had a buddy in high school who moved from to Hawaii. He joined our high school late. I think it was like my junior or senior year. He and I became pretty good friends at the time, and he was from the Bronx, right? And I had never met anybody from the Bronx. Here I am, I'm growing up in Hawaii. Like, that's as far away as you could get in the United States was the Bronx, basically. Didn't get much further away and much more opposite than that. So he would always tell me stories about, like, what it was like in the Bronx, and I would ask questions and stuff. And I remember one day he told me, he's like, Keala, man, there are basketball players on the streets of the neighborhoods that I grew up that are better than anybody in the NBA, but they're never going to be in the NBA. I was like, really, man? You really think so? He's like, hell yeah. I've played on the streets with some of these ballers out there that are way better. They'll break your ankles with all their moves, right? They are way better than most of these NBA players, but they'll just never be in the NBA. And I didn't know it at the time, but ultimately, what I learned later is that they just lacked the mindset. They had the skills. They just didn't have the wherewithal, the determination. They probably didn't have the self-esteem. You got to, like, really value yourself to think that you're worth millions of dollars a year in a contract to play a sport for a team, right? So they just didn't have the mindset. And so, for me, I've learned some marketing skills. I've learned the skill of influence. I've learned the skill of relationship building. I learned the skill of copywriting. I've learned how to move people in a direction, how to build relationships in a one-way, through a one-way conversation. Oftentimes people come up to me like, I feel like I know you. They come to me at events. I feel like I know you. Like, yes, that's intentional. That is stuff that I do in the world of online marketing to build that. So that's a skill set. But before all of that was really possible, I had to first believe that I was worthy of earning millions of dollars. I had to first believe that I was worthy of owning a company. I had to first believe that I was worthy of leading people, that I was, worthy of being a CEO, all of these various things. And until I really believed that, none of this was just a fantasy, right? Because when I, especially after years of failing as a wannabe entrepreneur, my self-esteem was pretty low at one point, So it really wasn't until I got involved in the world of personal development, really started working on myself, working on my mindset, changing my beliefs, kind of rewriting my subconscious story and all that sorts of jazz, that I really had the guts to go out and do something with it, right? Because all my life I'd been told, I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. People like us don't become wealthy, that sorts of jazz. Right. And I got laughed at by friends and family members whenever I would talk about having a successful business. People thought it was silly, didn't believe that it was possible, but it is what it is. And thankfully, I was willing to rewrite those stories. So it'd be really hard to break it down to just like a few things. It's been a lot of things, but at the end of the day, it's learn a valuable skill set. Don't care what it is, and work on that mindset. Right? Work on those beliefs, because ultimately, we're only going to have in life what we believe we are capable and worthy of having.
Awesome. Yeah, I well said. I can't even say anything to that. You gotta believe you deserve it before it'll even happen. Absolutely. And hitting on the personal development that you were just talking about, and knowing that you guys are so busy with the upcoming Elite Summit, I kind of wanted to hit on live events. I know that a lot of the huge partnerships, even whether they're in business or just friendships that have made huge impacts in this industry, have been come from live events. So I wanted to ask you, how impactful how impactful has it been for you to get to live events? How has it changed the course of your success? And what is your opinion of them?
Yeah, okay, good question. Most of my biggest breakthroughs actually have definitely, like, probably the majority of them have come from some sort of a live event. And it's weird because it's typically not from a speaker on stage, right? Necessarily, like, it's that happens too. But in most cases, it's not that. It's some like one-off, just random comment that somebody makes in a sidebar conversation, right? Or it's some sort of just random epiphany that I have just being in the company of certain people. So I'll tell you one of my first experiences of a live event, that really, kind of helped me have a major breakthrough is I was at an event in Chicago, and I was invited to a dinner by one of this other internet marketer who was just absolutely crushing it. And I was promoting an offer, and he got some overrides on some of the commissions that I would get. Right. So he was making quite a bit of money off of my production. So he invited me out to dinner at this like steakhouse in Chicago. Really, really nice. One of my first experiences in fine dining as a customer versus, I had served at restaurants, but I had never actually sat in and been served at a fine dining restaurant. So anyway, we went to dinner and we chatted, and I had a great conversation with him there. But it was, and I thought that's where my breakthrough would come from, would be from that dinner. And I was with him, and I was with his wife, and three other top producers, and myself, right? And I really thought that dinner was going to be an opportunity for me to have a breakthrough, but it didn't. I asked a lot of questions I felt were important, and it I don't know, it just, he answered them, but it wasn't like a bam, like it wasn't something that was like mind blowing, right? But I think it was the next night. Uh, he hit me up, and we all decided to go down to downtown Chicago and just kind of find a place to have dinner, hit maybe a blues a bar or a jazz bar. He's a musician as well, so he loved that sort of thing. So we went to downtown, and we ended up at this tapas restaurant. We had some I said tapas, not topless, just for clarity. um, don't get your hopes up, right? But it was a nice little tapas restaurant. There were some other top producers in the room, people doing like $20,000-$30,000 a month. The guy that I was hanging out with was doing about $50,000-$60,000 a month in revenue. So anyway, go out to dinner. We're hanging out. We're playing pool table. We're playing pool table. We're standing around the pool table playing pool after the fact, because we had eaten at a at a restaurant inside of a hotel, and then afterwards we started walking around. We found a pool table in their lobby and started playing pool. And finally, somebody brings up in the conversation like, "Hey man, we should start. It's getting late. We should start heading back to the hotel, and it's like 20 minutes away." And so on our way down there, we all caught the train, because that's the way that my girl and I got around while we were there. was through the train, and that's what we, could afford at the time. And I was like, yeah, you guys want to jump back on the train? And this guy goes, his name's Toby. He goes, no, no, no. Let's just go get a limo. Hey, he calls like his assistant. He's like, hey, go call around and see if you can find us a limo. And I'm standing at this pool table. I'm thinking like, that's how they're living? Like they just call a limo? Like we're just gonna, we got to get back to our hotel 20 minutes away. Let's spend $200 on that ride. You know what I mean? I'm like, what? That doesn't, what in the world? So that was like, whoa, like there's a whole new world just opened up for me. Like that's how these people be living, right? So I don't know what it was. I was just really taken aback by that, and I was reflecting on it throughout the night. And so this other guy, he's like on the phone, he's calling around. Long story short, they couldn't find a limo on short notice, but what they could find was a real nice big van and a driver. So this van comes, picks us up. We're sitting, my girl and I are sitting in the van, up against the window, behind the driver. My girl's leaning into me. I got my arm around her. I'm looking out the window, and I just had this epiphany, right? Where I just realized, like, here I am. I'm sitting in this van with all of these guys making all this money. They're not better than me. They're not smarter than me. You know what I mean? Like, I'm their equal. If they can do it, I can do it. And I know that sounds like a logic, like, duh, right? If one person can do it, I can do it. But what really took place is I owned, for a moment, I had the opportunity to own my greatness, right? That, like, here's these people that I had previously put on a pedestal. And I didn't even realize that by putting them on a pedestal, I had put myself in a pit. I had said that they have this, but I don't. They are XYZ characteristics. I'm not. But I realized that the very fact that I was in the presence of these people, the very fact that I had been invited, the very fact that I was hanging out with them, they were just another human being, just like me. They weren't any better than me. They didn't have some superpower. And the night before at dinner, one of the questions I had asked this guy is, I was like, well, he said, well, what's like what burning question? I was like, how do I break through the 5-figure per month ceiling? I keep making like 8,000 in a month, 9,000 in a month, 8,000, 7,000, whatever. I get close, and I just, whatever happens, like I just don't break through. And his response to me at that dinner that night had been, well, as soon as you let that go, you will break through. And I'm sitting there at that dinner like, what kind of answer is that, man? What the hell does that even mean, right? But, the next night, riding in the van on the way back to the hotel, I got it. I let go of the idea that there was a ceiling to begin with, right? Because if I am equal to them, they don't have that ceiling. That ceiling never crossed their mind, right? And so I let go of that. So keep in mind, for months now, I've been like hitting this, quote unquote, $10,000 per month ceiling. Within 7 days of that experience, I had done $10,000 in revenue. I had $10,000 in commissions, like in money coming in my bank account within 7 days of that. And that's just one little breakthrough that had nothing to do with all the speakers that were on stage that weekend. Nothing to do with them. It came from a sidebarred conversation of like just hanging around with some people and having some sort of epiphany and breakthrough. And there's been many, many more since then, right? And so that's what I would say is like the real value of events, is that you don't know where your next breakthrough is going to come from. But it's probably not going to come from sitting behind a computer watching videos, right? It's not going to come from chatting in a Facebook group. It comes from these real life experiences. Like, think about this. Like, this is just how our psychology works. In life, we have experiences. Those experiences create emotions, and then we anchor beliefs about ourselves or the world around us to those emotions. So the more powerful the emotion is, the more powerful that belief is, right? Like when my parents split up, I had a belief that I was not worthy of love. I didn't know that for years. I didn't know. I let that story run me for like 6 or 7 years before I even became aware that I had made that story up. But I had this deep, painful emotional experience, and the belief that I made up from that experience was that I wasn't worthy of love. And then everyone in my life I pushed out because of that belief, right? Well, at these live events, you're going to have you have deep emotional experiences, right? Because you're having a human connection. There's excitement in the room. There is, there's inspiration, there's motivation, there's empowerment. It's lively. And you're around all of these people who are all going after the same thing. So the emotions are heightened. And then you have this one new belief that enters your mind, but it's anchored to all of those powerful emotions. And to some degree or another, it overrides all of the other beliefs that you may have made up in the past that have held you back. You don't get that opportunity anywhere else. So for me, live events are just part of the game, right? Like there's things that I do. I'm here to learn a skill set. I got to do that, right? The skill set I'm learning and mastering right now is how to be an effective CEO, right? How to put the right people in the right place, how to like manage all of that, how to manage a company that, within a year we went from 1 employee to 60.
Mm-hmm.
How do you manage all of that and have some sort of a life, right? So that's one of the skill sets that I'm learning right now. So we got to learn the skills. We might do that through online courses, through books, through seminars, through, there's various different mediums that we can utilize, webinars, who knows. Okay. Then there's actually getting mentorship and coaching. So I have a coach and I have a coach and a consultant right now. I have a consultant that I meet with about once to twice a month that helps me kind of map out where the company's going and gives me pointers on where to take it. He's built 3 companies to 100 million a year. He's been where I want to go. Rather than trying to do it all myself, learn from him. Okay. Then I have a coach that works with me on a weekly basis who basically just helps me set goals, stay accountable to those, kind of navigate through kind of the turbulence. And so those are like shorter conversations, but they happen more often. And this is all she does is coach CEOs. Okay. And then the other third part, so there's learning, coaching and mentoring. And then the third part of that trifecta is the live events. So I spend right now, tens of thousands of dollars. We've probably spent, I don't even know. I don't want to ballpark it. Just the other day, the company we joined as a company, we joined a high ticket mastermind, $30,000 to join for 1 year. And it gives us access to some events. I'll be taking our COO or our director of ops to some of those events on how to like scale the operations sector of the business. I'll be taking our director, like my marketing team to some of those, or I'll be sending them to some of those. But anyway, long story short, is there's these live events that it's not like I was just at one a couple weeks ago. We knew 95% of everything that they said in the room. 95% of everything that they taught from stage, we knew. But it's that one thing that we don't know that radically changes it. It's that one thing that you're not expecting that makes millions of dollars take place, right? So I learned a long time ago, it's these 3 things. Get to the industry related events, meet people, network, shake hands, talk to people, find out what's working for other people in their businesses. And people will share those things with you. When you get to a live event, they're happy to share those things because they see you as an equal, right? You did the work to get there. You're not like somebody messaging them on Facebook saying, hey, can you please help me? Give me some handouts, right? Like, help me do stuff. I mean, I'm not willing to invest in myself, but you invest some time into me. No, it's not how it works. So get around the people at live events, network, shake hands, meet people, have conversations. You never know where those breakthroughs are going to come from, but you definitely can't afford to miss them, right? It costs money to get to an event. Costs you money to miss it too. You just don't realize the other side of it, most people, right? So for me, it's just those are the 3 pieces of the puzzle, right? I always want to be having coaches and consultants and people who are further down the path who've already been down the road that I'm going down and that can show me the way. I want to always have those people around. I want to always be learning new skills, getting my hands on new information. and I want to always be attending live events and continuing to grow my network, because you never know who I'm going to shake hands with that turns into another 7 or 8 figures. You know?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I get asked quite often, you know, what do I attribute? Pretty much the same question. What do I attribute to my success? And I kind of combine the first two of your three into one. You know, the coaching and the learning are kind of were one for me, but that's kind of, I think, because Awol offers it all in one for me. So it was just kind of one thing. And then, yeah, the live events were another thing I absolutely contribute to my success and how I had it so rapidly. And then, you know, the big thing too that I wanted to hit on was just, you know, consistency, being able to consistently do the things that are working for you. So I wanted to ask you, you know, what are some of the things that you involve, like your habits, your routines, like a routine that you have built that you consistently either do now or did when you were first starting to like build, you know, success online? You know, either one of those, if you wanted to hit on one.
Yeah. No, that's a great question. So, habits have definitely changed for me as a CEO. There's definitely different things that I do now than I did originally, you know, on the come up. But some of the things that stay consistent are like, you know, always learning, always being open to learning. So when you say habits and routines, are you looking for like something that I do on a daily basis, or just kind of a philosophy that I live by, or both, or you don't care? You tell me which way you want me to go on this.
Yeah, I'm going to leave it up to you, whichever way you feel you could, to answer this question.
Okay, cool. Um, so one of my kind of core philosophies is like always be learning, always be the student, right? Um, I don't like being the smartest person in the room. If I know that I'm the smartest person in the room or the most qualified person in the room, I need to get in another room, right? ASAP, because then there's no growth happening. There's no evolution taking place. So one of my habits has been for a long time, just learn and master skills. Like, here, what's the skill set I want to learn? You know, traffic. I want to learn how to generate lots of traffic on the internet. Great. Where can I get some traffic courses? Really dig into them. And then the other piece of that is, as I'm learning, apply. Okay. As I'm learning, apply quickly. Don't sit and take notes all day and then do nothing with it. Like, I have watched a video on the, you know, back when I was learning how to be an affiliate marketer, as an example, I would watch a video, and within an hour of that video being over, I was implementing something. So that was one part of my thing, is like philosophy, learn, and then execute, even if it's imperfect, right? Imperfect action beats perfect inaction every time. Okay. So I would just, and anything worth doing well is also worth doing poorly at first. So I knew that, hey, I'm not going to get it right the first time, but whatever I just learned, I'm going to go execute on right now. And the other thing was, you know, then I would teach it too. So I would share what I was doing on Facebook to different groups that I had, like to anybody who would listen, because it created a new level of accountability. When I learned a new skill and then I went and executed it, and then I talked about it to other people and shared, hey, this is what I'm doing, what I'm learning right now, I couldn't just bow out and not do it anymore. Because now all these people know that, well, this is what Keala's on to now, right? This is what Keala says he's going to learn how to do X, Y, and Z. That creates a new level of accountability. And it allowed me to really master what I was learning, because I would be explaining it to other people, and they would ask questions, and it would force me to think through some of those answers and think about that skill that I'm learning in a new way, because I had to answer these questions, right? So it really anchored it in firmly. So that would definitely be like one of my routines, one of my things that I did regularly, right? Learn, apply, teach. Today, I'm doing the same thing. Today, a lot of what I'm spending my time learning, though, is the skill set of being a CEO, managing a company, managing a family of companies, blah, 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 that sort of thing, right? Then I go and do, as I learn these new things, I go and execute. And, you know, not to let the cat out of the bag here, but one of the courses that I'm going to be rolling out here in the not too distant future is a course for CEOs. So I'm going to go teach it, everything that I've been learning, right? To help people be more effective in their businesses. That's one of my routines. Learn, do, teach, repeat.
Awesome. Yeah. So yeah, we're getting close to the top of the hour, and I know you're super busy, so I don't want to keep you any longer than the hour. But just in closing, normally I like to ask a two-part question, and I feel like it pertains to you as well. So I'm just going to have you answer as well. If anybody any of the viewers of the episode were looking to get started but were on the fence, kind of apprehensive about getting started, what would you say to them? And then the second part of the question is people just getting started. They have the world-class training in front of them, and the sky's the limit at this point if they can apply themselves. What would you say to that person as well?
Okay, so the two-part question. One, what would you say to the person on the fence? What would you say to the person just getting started? Correct?
Correct.
Okay. So people on fences don't make nothing, right? Like there ain't nobody professionally paid to sit on a damn fence wondering whether am I or am I not. Like just shit or get off the pot. Like do or don't do it. Just act, right? Like make a decision and move. I've Napoleon Hill talks about this quite a bit in Think and Grow Rich, right? Like that successful people make decisions quickly, change their mind slowly. Unsuccessful people make decisions very slowly and then change their mind very quickly. So they go back on their decisions very quickly, even though it's taken them a long time to make a decision in the first place. Successful people just make decisions a lot faster. So part of my philosophy is like, I beat a lot of my competitors, right? Because I make decisions faster. Because I'm not worried about always making the right decision. I'm just worried about making lots of decisions very quickly, right? Using my best judgment, but I'm not going to sit and ponder and overanalyze and, is this right? Is it wrong? It's not, fuck, if it's wrong, it's not going to be the end of the world. You know what I mean? I'm going to get back up, get on my feet and keep going, right? And there is no such thing really, I feel, as like a bad decision because you either earn or learn from your decisions, right? So I'm going to get value one way or another. So I'd rather just act. So in the time that my competitor is maybe, in the time that it takes them to make one decision, I've made 10, I'm going to win. I'm going to beat them every time, right? So just get off the fence. Like as an example with Awol, we have a 14-day money-back guarantee. Just buy, get started. If you don't like it, get your money back. Who cares? You know what I mean? Like, give it a try, right? See for yourself. That would be my thing. Like, it's not, again, you're not going to lose. You're either going to earn or learn. Okay? And then to the people getting started, I would just say, like, just take massive amounts of action. Just move fast and break stuff. Like, just, don't worry about what people are going to think about you. Like 3 years from now, you're not going to care, like I get my memories that show up on Facebook every now and then. And I look at some of the stuff that I used to share back in like 2012, 2013. And I'm like, oh my God, facepalm. Like, whoa, look, what an ignorant idiot I was, right? Doesn't matter today. Doesn't matter today. That's where I was at that phase. This is where I'm at today. Who cares, right? So, just don't worry about getting it right. Don't worry about making mistakes. Don't worry about losing money. Losing money is part of the game. Everybody in business loses money from time to time. Everybody in business makes mistakes. Everybody in business screws up and pays for it with dollars, right? That's just part of the game that we're playing. Because anything worth doing well is also worth doing poorly at first. And so, move fast and break stuff. If you're gonna fail anyway at lots of different things, right? And for me, the only failure is quitting. Only at the moment that I give up have I actually failed. Otherwise, I'm just learning, right? So, if I know I'm gonna make mistakes, I know I'm gonna screw up. I just lean into that, accept it, make lots of mistakes, screw up lots of times, and I've failed more times than most people will even try. And that's how I got here. So just, do that. Take massive amounts of action. And my other part of that would be like, realize that your job is only to learn a skill. It's just to learn a skill. And any one of the skills, like any one skill that we teach, like just learning how to drive massive amounts of traffic, super valuable. Learning how to advertise and buy ads and how to interpret the analytics and adjust those advertisements based on what the data is telling you, that's a skill. Learning how to write sales copy, that's a skill. Learning how to close sales over the phone, that's a skill. Any one of those skills, and many, many more, any one of them, though, pays 7-8 figures, right? So you don't have to learn them all, but choose one. Choose at least one. And then dedicate yourself to learning that one thing better than 90% of people out there. And you will be, in the top tier of whatever industry you're in.
Awesome. So I just want to say thank you so much, Keala, for taking time and doing this interview with me. Massive value drops, and I really do appreciate it. I just have a couple little housekeeping things I have to do at the end. So I know you said you're super busy and you had something right after this. So if you need to jump off, you can jump off. And I just got my little thing I have to do here at the end. So thank you again, brother. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me out, dude. And, wish you the best, bro. Congratulations on all your success. You are the epitome of an exceptional client. Like if you ask questions and I give you an answer or the team gives you an answer, you go and do it. Right. And then come back and ask more questions. You don't just, you utilize all of our time and energy and resource and then not put it to work. So congratulations on all your success, man. You've earned it. Happy to be able to, help you along in your journey by contributing this time to you, your viewers, your audience, all that jazz. And, thanks for having me. I appreciate you. I am going to pop off because I do have to jump on to my next call, which is actually with my coach, coincidentally. Right. So I'm going to jump off there, brother, but you take it away, man. And thanks again.
All right. Yeah. I'll see you in 2 weeks.
See you then, buddy.
All right. And I'd also like to thank you, the viewer, for taking the time out of your day to sit through this interview. I know your time is just as valuable as mine or Keala's, so I really do appreciate you, taking the time to watch this interview and to gain the value. And if you, liked what you heard and you resonated with it, please hit that like button. And be sure to comment your biggest takeaway. What was the one thing Keala or I mentioned that, really resonated with you? And so leave that in the comments. And if you have any, burning questions, things that you would love the answer to, but just haven't heard it yet, leave that in the comments as well. And I will be sure to ask those questions so that you can get the knowledge and value you're looking for. And as always, hit that subscribe button so you do not miss any of the future episodes as they drop. And you will, never miss a single bit of value. So, again, thank you so much for tuning in and watching this episode this week. And we will see you next week. Peace.